with all of the Rising Stars coaches, which actually you're only number 2 because Ian McLeod was the first one, you know, I really want you to share some of your, you know, expertise to the younger coaches. I know that you've done that now, you know, internationally. You've been a speaker on a lot of online platforms, but I'd love to just have a short little presentation from you now, because I think that it's so important, like you said, about sharing your knowledge and showing, you know, some of the concepts that you're using at the highest level of basketball in our country, you know, which is that EBL1 and the Barking Abbey type programs that are running. So I'm going to share my screen with you.
I think I can share it actually.
Oh, no, yeah. Can you share? Yeah. Can you share from there? Yeah. Sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, I can share. Let me just think it should work. Right, that's gone
awesome.
There.
Awesome.
Try and find the presentation. Is that showing up on yours,
yeah,
Tony?
Perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. Awesome stuff.
Right, so what I'm going to talk about, and I'll try and keep it short, but anyone who knows me, that when I talk about any kind of motion offense, I kind of go off on a tangent and, you know, I talk for way too long. So I'll try and keep this, you know, as short as I possibly can. But what I'm going to talk about is, oh, here we go, bear with me. Here we go. We're going to talk about spread motion. So I briefly spoke about it with Tony, was regarding, you know, flow motion is traditionally 2 post players around 3 guards. So we wanted to introduce something to the academy, which you know, was different to that, where we could, you know, run smaller lineups, and these were the reasons that we, you know, we looked at running spread motion with the academy. And the first one was trends in the game. You don't see as many teams these days playing 2 traditional post players at the same time. And you know, watching the NBA playoffs, you can see these teams are going smaller and smaller and smaller. You know, and we want to make sure that we are, you know, staying up to date with the trends of the game as well. So spread motion gives us the option to be able to do this. Also, you know, the makeup of our teams at the academy change year to year. So our poster guard ratio will change year on year, depending on who comes in. So, you know, some years we might run more flow, some years we might run more spread motion. And for example, our Division 3 men's team, which Ricky coached last year, had, you know, he had 5 post players and 7 guards. So for him, it was a lot more beneficial to run flow so that he could get, you know, more playing time for all of his post players. Whereas for me last year, I had only 3 post players and the rest were guards. So we ran a lot more spread. Another reason is to push players outside of their comfort zone. We're looking at what players might be long-term instead of what they are now. So, you know, we get a lot of what we call tweeners. So they're 4-stroke threes. But we look at them and we know, you know, having sent a lot of players to the States, that we know that they're probably going to be a 3 long-term. And if that's the case, we have to develop their skill set for that. And spread allows us to do that because we can, you know, play them as a guard position instead of them playing as a post position. Awesome. This is, you know, how we transition, you know, from defense to offense. Very simply, it's pretty much exactly the same as we would transition in flow motion. So the point guard, they transition in what we call the pro lane, which is the yellow lanes. We don't want them on the sidelines. We want to try and keep to these pro lanes. The guards and the wings, they stay to the green lanes, trying to stay as wide as possible. And then we have the post player that, you know, is the rim runner who can trail the play or can be ahead of the play. And that's how we transition from offense to defense. When we do get down into, you know, half court, this is how we teach it, you know, the first week of practice. You know, we'll go through pretty much this presentation with them and try and just show them the spacing and how we want to arrive. So on this left diagram here, this is the guard spots. They have 6 available spots that they can transition into. So they have, you know, the 2 corners, the 2 45s, and then we have the 2 slots. We've changed it this year, so we have 8 available spots now. So where 1 and 3 are, there's we have two slot higher towards the halfway line. Sure. So we run a lot of, you know, high mid-ball screens. We run out of that action. If teams are hard hedging, we have that slot available to, throw that quick pass ahead to try and get a 2v1, 3v2 on that weak side. And then the post players, they have a lot more freedom when they're in spread because, they're not working with another post player. So they have the option, 3 main spots for them. They had the top spot and they had the 2 blocks. Depending on.
Are you putting those post players where you say on the block they're not going to dead spot, they're not underneath the rim? They can be. They can be.
It will depend on the skill set of each individual player. So we get some guys in that are very all of this is very, very new. So the start for them will be very simple. We will give them the 2 blocks. We might not even give them, that top spot to be a reversal. They might be a screener, a rim roller. And then, like you said, be in the dunker spot, play behind the rim, dump offs, circles, and try and keep it as simple as we can. But then when the players do develop, we start to get into, they have the option to pick and pop. They have the option to, get out to the short corners. And play out of those kind of positions as well. So we do give them some freedom, but it will depend on their skill set. And each player is, at different stages in their development.
Excellent.
So this is like different ways that we could arrive. So, the first 2 diagrams we're arriving if the post is ahead of the play. So the first diagram, really simple. 1 has brought the ball down, 2 has flattened out to the corner, 5 has rim runned and come out to the ball side block.
Is it
3 on the weak side, 4 in the corner.
Is it always ball side block? Is that one of the early rules?
Yeah, early rules. Rim first and then find the ball and come out to that side.
Awesome.
The second option is you've got, 1 has brought the ball down, but he's got empty corner. 5 is ahead of the pass, ahead of the ball. And then you've got 2, 3, and 4 on that weak side. And then you've got, the next 2 diagrams, you're arriving if the post is high. The first one, obviously very simple. That's, 5 out spacing, 1 has brought the ball down. You've got 4 other guys around, the ball. And then the last one, you've got empty corner, 5 is trailing the play, and then you've got the 3 guards on the weak side. So this was, when me and Lloyd first started putting this in, we experimented a lot, but we found some problems. So the next slide is the problems we had and the solutions that we have used, and, I'd be fascinated to know if guys have other solutions or if they've got into similar, problems. So the first problem we had was, what happens if the 1 brings the ball down and he goes towards the 2 sides? So the guard where there's 2 wings on the same side. And this happened, quite a bit to start off with. And one thing that we teach our point guards is as soon as they, they receive the ball, whoever the guard is, we want them to look up first. So if they do look up and they see that that side has, 2 guards on it, we like our guards to see that, recognize, and then get to the other side, the other pro lane, and not be on that side.
Wow.
Doesn't always work that way. No. So the other option...
And it also goes against one of my true point guard philosophies, which is don't cut across the grain of the court, which is that you're... Yeah. Because people always running down the middle of the court.
Down the middle, and you might
run into them. But these rules now are meant to be broken. So
a little bit.
Totally understand that.
And then the other option is you can send 2 through. So you could send 2 through,
absolutely,
3 flatten, and then you're back into normal alignment.
Awesome.
The next problem we had was, if 1 brings the ball down and 5 is trailing with an empty corner, can the ball be reversed through 5? And we realized very quickly, no, it cannot be reversed through the 5, because spacing wise, the joke I always tell our guys, because we're working on this at the moment, very early on, a couple of our guys have done this early in offense. And I say to them, we break everything in our offenses down to 2-man game actions and 3-man game actions. We don't have any 4-man game actions. So this is a 4-man game action that doesn't exist in our offense. So we told them they can't reverse the ball through the 5. So what we do is 5 can't receive the ball. He must either drag screen with 1, or he must dive into the post. The other option that we've looked at this year is he can screen away. So one I quite like is, you know, 5 might almost pretend he's going to drag screen, then curl back and, you know, screen almost like a flat screen, almost with his butt towards, you know, the sideline, almost towards 1. And 3 has the option there to, you know, curl it. And sometimes, you know, we get an easy one where 3's defender just switches off. So that was another problem
I was gonna say,
yep.
In this alignment, just seeing how some of these things can happen. If the ball did get swung to 5, you could really hard cut 2. And then 2 is going to the corner, so now that's double side. And then 5 and 3 are playing 2-man game there. Plus, obviously, you know, the taggers from 4 it's going to be really hard for them to deal with that.
We tried that a little bit, but we found that the spacing between 5 and 3 kind of just
didn't allow.
What we tried to do was send 2 through and then 3 pin down for 4, which worked a little bit, but we got to a point. The other thing is, which we realized pretty quick, we've had very good point guards over the last 5 years. We really like one coming down and having an empty corner.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, that's an opportunity to, you know, reject that ball screen, and he has free reign to be able to try and create, you know, going baseline, especially early in offense. A lot of teams aren't, you know, that low defender isn't set. So a lot of times we get good action out of that as well. The other option we had was, what do you do if you have a 3-man game action? So you've got here 3, 2, and 4, but they're 3 guards. Because the normal action that you would have here would be, you know, 2 might, you know, 45 cut, 3 would come, you would, you know, 3 would pass to 4, and you would usually run a ball screen. That would be, you know, the typical flow kind of principles.
Sure.
So, you know, 3 guards, we decided, we've given them, we experimented with this a lot, and we still, to be honest, we still are experimenting with it. The one thing we've told them is they just can't ball screen.
Right. Interesting.
So
just wanted to make this point, because I wrote this little note down to myself here. I've never ever seen so much guard screening in all my life in all of these NBA games, you know. And if anything's coming out of it, as coaches, we're all going to be running staggers and all kinds of ball screens and double guard ball screens for a point guard. It's unbelievable. I've never seen so much in my life, and that's gonna, you know, in my view, it's going to teach us as coaches. We're going to have to go back and really, really work on screening for guards, not just, you know, the actual mechanics of screening. Yeah. So, really interested in that.
And you know, we were talking about this at practice the last couple of days. We are kind of maybe going towards actually screening, you know, guard to guard. But for us, we need to have a reason why we're doing it. So the NBA, they're doing it for the matchup. So that's the reason they do it. Now, we don't want our guys screening guard for guard if we're screening, you know, and they're going to switch it, and now their best defender is on the ball. You know, we want our guys to really think about the why and when to do things. So, you know, at the moment we've said no ball screens, but we've done lots of different things. We've flare screened, so, you know, 4 flare screening for 2, and then 4 slip into the rim is an action, because we find a lot of teams switch a lot guard to guard. So, you know, flare screens are really good because you get to screen and slip, which is a really, you know, it's an action that I really like. Pin downs guard to guard I really like, because, you know, there's a lot of teams will switch that. There's a lot of counters against that as well. So, you know, we just try and do stuff that, you know, I just want to try and one thing we're trying to do a little bit at the academy is to not ball screen and become too ball screen reliant. It's important, you know, because it's an important part of the game. But, you know, one thing that we found that we think we have an advantage over, you know, teams is, you know, we're athletic and our guys are good 1v1 players. So we want to use that as an advantage at times as well, not always ball screen. And we get kids coming in from the academy and they're, you know, dribbling the ball down, calling for a screen. And I'm no.
Just
you know, just, you know, let's just play for a little bit. Let's see if we can create an advantage without ball screens at the start of the year, instead of relying on them so early. So, so just some simple concepts that we use is, if the ball is, so to release the big. So like if the big is down early or he's rolled on some sort of drag screen, if the ball is then reversed, we want the big then to lift back through the middle. And he can lift back through the middle and be a reversal. He can lift back through the middle and immediately ball screen. But this is, going back to trying to develop the players. We want them to be able to, play on the perimeter a little bit. And, we want to be able to, the ball to move quite a bit. That's important for us. We don't want the ball to stick. So, I've got a very simple, video here. I hope it will work. So you'll see here, the ball's being reversed and then the big is lifted. And then we get into, 2 and 3 man game actions. And, you see, we try not to rely, he lifts back here again. But, just a simple concept that we use.
Good stuff.
And you'll see here, ball gets reversed, and you'll see here the post player then lifts, and then we're getting back into a 3-man game action on this side. So it's just a very simple concept that we use. You can see here the post is down, ball reverse, post is now coming back in, and then we're looking to play out of that. So, a lot of what we do is not complicated at all. It's very, very simple. But I think the concepts take quite a long time to, teach the different reads, teach the different, playing 1v1, playing these 2-man and 3-man game actions. They do take quite a long time to actually teach those actions.
And are you breaking, do you have a specific set of drills for the wing player, for the perimeter players, and then for the inside player? How are you combining those players? Are you putting them into 2-man, 3-man actions, 4-man, and then building 5-man?
Exactly that. So there's a bit in this presentation actually where I go into how we build this up as well. So what we try and do is we want our practice to be as much 5v5 and 4v4 as possible. So
interesting.
That's what practice for us is really what we want it to be. So anything below that, so 3v3, 2v2, 1v1 is all done in our individual skill sessions. So we do a lot of situational games. So we will play, a very simple one would be 3-man game action. So 3-man game action, live play. There you go. And they've got to play out of a 3-man game action. We might put some constraints on it. We might say, right, no ball screen. What are you going to do in this 3-man game action? Or we might say the ball screen coverage must be hard hedge. So we'll work on the read versus hard hedge, etc. But, a lot of our skill development is done through those situational games.
Awesome. Unbelievable stuff. Yeah, really good stuff.
And then this is just some, so I'm just going to let this run.
Yeah,
just some key team concepts. So just the basics, we want to play really, really fast. Okay, the ball wants to zip around. We want to have great spacing, and we want to try and generate good shots in the first 7 seconds of offense. So you'll see here, a lot of what we do is just drive and kick, but we want to play really, really fast. You'll see here as well. A lot of the times we don't have a designated point guard. If you rebound the ball and you're a guard and you see space ahead of you, we want you to dribble into that space. I think this was a really good play from, I think it might be the next one. But this was a really, Cam Hildreth is a special player, but, he knows this system because he played with me at the national team. But this is pretty much what Spread's about, Great. A lot of drive and kick, Great. A lot of, spacing is very important to everything that we do. We spend, today at practice, I stopped practice every single time a guy was not in the dead corner, because guys think that mid corner is corner. And the amount of times I blew the whistle and said, no, that's not corner. And we had to drill it to them today, time after time after time, because spacing in what we do is very, very important. And then I'll let this run as well. This is just the continuity of it. So 2-man and 3-man game actions. You'll see here, we get into 5-out spacing, backdoor cut, they switch it. Flynn makes the right read. He stays, he doesn't come up. And we get a wide open 3. I think we drag screen early here. This is a drag screen, and then we've got a 3-man guard action here. They actually switch it. Then we've got 3-man game action here. Ball moves quickly. You'll see the post player lifting back into a spot, and then we get back into another 3-man game action. And it's, you know, we drill this stuff to death. It's something we do this every single day. And, you know, it's something that and the coaches, we really believe in this stuff because we think it's best for their development. And, you know, the biggest compliment that I can get is, you know, when a player leaves us and goes to, you know, another team is, you know, when the coaches say to us, you know, oh, they have their basketball IQ is really high. You know, they understand, you know, positioning, spacing, they understand how to play the pick and roll, etc. So, you know, and I think that this offense really, you know, allows us to be able to do that. You'll see here, you know, just ball, you know, nothing that we're doing here is very complicated, as you can see. We try and keep it very, very simple.
No, it's excellent stuff, Coach. Really excellent stuff. And, you know, I think this such a good, you know, you built this up, and there's some great concepts here, you know, for any coach to feel that they can, you know, implement into their offensive philosophy, regardless of whether, you know, what kind of other sets that you're running and stuff. There's some really, really good stuff here.
And this is, you know, we run a lot of different actions out of spread as well. So this is what we call this a way. So this is our stagger action. So we call this a way action. So we stagger for the corner, and, you know, this is some stuff we do out of that. You know, a lot of NBA, you see a lot of NBA teams that running these kind of actions as well. You know, stagger screens away, simple reads.
Great call.
And, you know, we're doing this again this year. We have some different actions that we run out of this as well. And then the things that we do out of all of this, they all come back to the concepts that we run in normal spread. So if we don't get anything out of these actions, we flow straight back into 2-man game, 3-man game action. So I think, you know, similar thing here, you know, stagger away, you know, we curl that first one, and then we just get into a 2-man game action here, you know.
Right.
None of these things are complicated, you know, simple reads.
Really?
I think this one might be a little wrinkle that we run. We called this, you know, away twist. So we pitch it back, and then we play middle third ball screen. You know, just simple.
Yeah.
Simple stuff.
Awesome.
And then when we get back to our sets, we were talking, you know, something that we do within all our sets is, and I'm sure that a lot of coaches are similar, is if we don't get anything out of our set, then, you know, we then get back into our motion offense. So, you know,
I think it's a good concept.
Yeah, and I think it's good for our guys because that's what they're comfortable with. So, you know, if we don't get something, and last year our sets were what we call very much, they were punchy sets. So we looked for something very early in the offense. So we went straight to an action. We went to a matchup. You know, that was what we wanted to look at. We didn't get anything out of it. We're straight back into our kind of, you know, our set. So, you know, this is something that we ran to start a game. But you can see that the spacing there is straight back into, you know, flow spots. This is what we call our L action. Stole this off Lloyd Gardner, by the way. So we run this out. Stole this off Lloyd. He ran this with the Royals. So we stole some stuff off him. So, but yeah, all of our sets, very, very simple, nothing complicated. You know, and you can see here, we're straight back into spread. So now we're in spread motion.
Sure. Awesome. Great stuff.
This was probably like, we asked our guys what their favorite player of the season was, and, you know, this was their favorite one.
Yeah.
Which for me is nice. I don't know if they were just trying to do it because, you know, it would make me feel really good because you know, this was my favorite player of the year.
I ran stuff like that in Japan, yeah, with the step up and in that kind of great, good stuff.
So then, just a couple more slides, Tony. I know I've
no, that's great. It's great. Really good stuff.
So we just some stuff we do with our individual skill sessions. You know, individuals, we call them individuals. They're individualized, which I think is a key philosophy. You know, each player has a individual you know, plan of what they are going to do, you know, what they need to get better at and how we are going to achieve it and what those goals are, so it's measurable for them. We work on connection between ball, body and mind. This is what we call routines. We try and squeeze as much time as we can out of the day. So when they come into the gym before individuals or before team practice, they have a 10-minute routine, which is ball handling, it can be shooting, it can be finishing. And we try and squeeze an extra 10 minutes. So if they do an individual session and they do a team practice in a day, which all of them do, they get 20 minutes extra skill development if they plan their time correctly and get to the skill development session on time and practice on time. So we just try and squeeze as much time as we can. Nice. And then all of our workouts consist of coordination, shooting, finishing, 1v1. And then we always end those skill sessions with situational games like we were talking about, 2v2, 3v3. Just some 1v1 principles, some things that we try and do 1v1. Ricky Broadmoor, who's my assistant now at Barking Abbey, is an incredible skill development coach. It's his real passion. A lot of this stuff is his stuff. And I give him a lot of, you know, time to be able to experiment and, you know, work on the stuff that he's passionate about. And he's done an incredible job with our guys, especially on the skill development side. And, you know, this is just some examples of some of the stuff that he does. We do a lot of 1v1 stuff, a lot of finishing stuff. We play a lot. One thing that we, you know, me and Ricky agreed on is we want to play a lot more one-on-one. So we do a lot of 1v1 at practice.
It's really interesting. That's, you know, it seems to me that a lot of coaches have gone that way. You know, I know coaches that are starting sessions now just one-on-one, just 1v1 basketball. No, not even putting it in situational 1v1, just one-on-one. You know, competition. It's interesting. Very good. All right.
And yeah, then the situational games, like we said. So, you know, there's some videos of that as well. We're working on some pin down action here. You know, and we do this every single day as well. So we rep it to the point where, you know, the guys understand all of the reads. And we're developing them as well. We work on all the different reads, you know, not just, you know, not necessarily the ones that we use, but, you know, ones other teams use or ones that they might see later on in their basketball journeys. But, you know, we want to, you know, make them as well-rounded as we possibly can in quite a short period of time. We only get them for 2 years, which seems like a long time, but having been at the academy now for 6 years, those 2 years go very, very quickly. So yeah, we just, you know, we're trying to you know, develop them as quickly as we possibly can. And, you know, this is something we're doing out of our, this was a set we ran, which was Diamond, where we had like a pin down action for the guard coming out. And we worked, you know, some stuff on that as well. So,
great.
You know, it's very basic. You know, one thing I always tell our coaches is, you know, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You know, I want our coaches to still be experimental, and, you know, I want our coaches to, you know, come to me with ideas, and, you know, but, you know, I don't think that anything we do is necessarily that complicated. And, you know, we have coaches come in and observe practices, and they, you know, a lot of them say, you know, what we do is, you know, it's not complicated, but, you know, we're passionate in what we do, and, you know, we try and teach as much as we can.
Awesome. Great stuff. Really good. Fantastic. That's one. Oh, we got 2-man game, pick and roll.
We just play 2-man game out of post. So, and we do that a lot of 2-man game stuff, especially pick and roll 2-man game. One thing I really like is, you know, the game is developed into, you know, the low post used to always be a place where, you know, it was a place where you just backed a guy down and scored. It's now a place where you get to create, you know, you can dribble handoff out of the post. You can you know, you can pass out and then ball screen, or pass out and screen away. So we've enjoyed experimenting with that low post over the last couple of years.